Good morning. Okay, I just tried going live twice, and when I pushed the button and then went to choose my thread color, it was just like a blank screen, but the picture of this, I was like, oh no, this is not good. Okay, so today we're going to do this little twisty guy here. Really easy today, really easy. You can choose your own stitches for these because actually it's just like a filler design to fill up the little space that was in this area. So we're just going to talk a little bit about stitches that you could use, and then I'll show you what I'm going to do, and then if you want to do something different, obviously you can. Okay, there's no right or wrong with this because it's kind of like a generic shape for leaves, little vines, things like that. So I kind of like to break it down into the stem and then each of the leaves. So if you can kind of have a look, each of the leaves, they're kind of like the teardrop shape. So you could use the Lazy Daisy from yesterday for each of these. If you use less strands, then it will make it more long like this instead of so round at the tip. You could do just 2 straight stitches right next to each other or on top of each other to make it look a little bit like humped up. Trilogy Mama says, wide awake at 2 a.m. on the west coast of the States, and I'm finally seeing your live. Oh my goodness. 2 a.m. so early. I'm sorry you can't sleep. You could also do something like a chain stitch, but just one layer, instead of the detached chain stitch. There's literally so much that you could do. You could do 3, 1, 2, 3 straight stitches to make up, which is probably what I'm going to do. Yeah. Or you could do 2 on top of each other so they're thicker. You could do the detached chain stitch. You could do a row of chain stitches like this. There's lots and lots and lots of ways that you can make this kind of shape to stitch it up, And then as far as the stem, there is the good old back stitch. 1, 1, 1, 1 stitch for each one, like we've kind of been doing for the detached chain stitch from yesterday. You could do a stem stitch here. You could do a split stitch here. A brick stitch if you wanted it really thick. Another chain stitch if you wanted a little bit of texture in there. There's so much you could do. Whipped back stitch if you wanted to, which is probably what I'm going to do so that it's nice and smooth. So yeah, let's get started. I think I'm going to do the whipped back stitch for this, and then kind of show how it looks different to the stem stitch, which is what we did here. Now I know we've already done the whipped back stitch for each of these pots and stuff. The coffee pot and the teacup and the coffee cup, I guess. But it's fun to use the stitches in practice. So I'm going to do a back stitch, point to point, and then I'm going to go back and whip it so it's a nice, smooth, strong vine. So now that you know some stitches, you can kind of start to think, where can I use these stitches where it would make sense? Or how can I use them in different ways as to how they're supposed to be used? Kind of start pushing the boundaries a little bit, So obviously that would be fine if I wanted to stop there. That's completely acceptable. But I'm going to whip it and then see how it looks. Now I've got 6 strands here. And then obviously with another 6, it's going to look a little bit thicker than a regular 6 strand. It's going to be a little bit more. So let me just do this one, and then I'll zoom in, and then you can see what it looks like. Ooh, I pulled the thing. Okay, so up here we've got 6 and 6, which is 12. And then down here we have just the regular backstitch. So it gives it that like twisted kind of look, but using twice the thread. Now we're back where we started from. So you see it still has that like twisted look to it, just like the stem stitch does that we did over here. It's just a little bit more solid, and it comes off the fabric a little bit more, you know? Okay, so I'm gonna do one of these where it's one down the middle and then one on each side, just a little bit shorter. Now technically these are just straight stitches, but I think they give such a nice little, almost like a scalloped edge leaf or something, because they all don't start and stop at the same place. You know, almost like a spiky kind of situation. I quite like it. But again, you could do something a little bit different if you wanted to. You could do the detached chain stitch or any of the other ways that I showed you previously on your hoop. Like a choose your own adventure. Oh, no. Let me just do this last one. I really love this color for this plant. Thank you. Me too. I try and mix up the lights and the darks all around so that we don't have two super light colors right next to each other or two super dark colors right next to each other. And that way, when you look at it, it kind of looks a little bit more natural, like something that would be out in nature. Like even grass is not all exactly the same color. And you'll often find come on, just make the knot. You'll often find different colors of green plants. They're not all the same color. Surprise, surprise. Hitting you with the big facts this morning. Okay. I love that little shape. We're going to do a second session today. This is the second session today. So I've already done the teapot in the morning, and this is the second one. Gotta move it down. fun. Earlier, my thing fell out too. I'm so strong when I pull the thread through. It's not my fault. Actually, the first stitch along was quite short because we only did 2 little leaves again. So it really wasn't, just didn't take up a lot of time. And we'll come down the other side. Looks a bit like rosemary. Yeah, kind of. I think if you would have had the 2 straight stitches on top of each other, it would have been a little bit more like rosemary, I think. Because isn't it quite like long and thin, the rosemary leaves? Is that what they're called? Herbs? Where is it? So easy peasy day today. David and Jesse have been out for ages. They went on a walk this morning. It's so cold today, so I hope they're okay. Looks like the sun is trying to come out though, so maybe it'll like warm things up a little bit. Because it's absolutely freezing. Are you going to use satin stitch for the big flower? You'll have to find out when we do the big flower. Stay tuned. I'm not giving away any of the future stitches. All right, we're almost done. We only have 3 more leaves to do. -15 at my place. Mine is not in Celsius, it's in Fahrenheit. Is yours in Fahrenheit? My weather app, because now because I'm from the States, I'm used to having it at Fahrenheit. But mine here it's I think 27 and it feels like 24 Fahrenheit. So it's minus something, because 32 is freezing. That's what it was. I knew my thread was shorter. There's a loop that didn't go all the way through, but that's okay. Mine's long enough so I could cut it. Here's what I mean. So I've got a loop that didn't get pulled all the way. So mine's long enough that I could cut it and tie it and it would be fine. Or I can just weave it through like this. And then continue so it's nice and flat and straight, which is what I'm probably going to do. finally used a hairdryer on the friction pen the other day and couldn't believe how well it disappeared. I was skeptical and was pleasantly surprised. Yeah, so it does sometimes leave like a little mark on there. So do be warned a little bit. Sometimes it can leave like a yellowish kind of tint, and it seems like the longer you leave it on, the more chance that it's going to be like leave a little mark. I've always found that if you get it a little bit wet, if it does leave a mark, if you get it a little bit wet, then it will disappear. And also if you use high heat, so don't just put it on the blow dryer for like a second. Put it on there for like 20 seconds, you know, to like really get it off. And I like to do the front and I like to do the back as well. But yeah, it's really great. I know some people are, I know some people, they keep telling other people like, be really careful because in cold temperatures it can come back. And I remember the first time that someone said that to me, they were like, the way they said it was like to try and prove me wrong, you know? And I keep laughing because it's so ridiculous what I said after. I was like, well, unless you're snowmobiling down a hill outside, then you're probably going to be fine. Isn't that such an awful thing to say? I don't know why I went there first. Like, if you're taking your embroidery, like, snow skiing, then yeah, you might have a problem. Isn't that awful? But yeah, it can come back in the cold. But most of the time, like, you're not going to put your work in a freezer or anything like that. And I've been shipping my hoops all over the world, and none of them have ever had the marks on them when they arrive. So yeah, so far I've been fine with it, but I do like to say that it can come back, and you can put your work in the freezer and prove it to yourself that yes, they can come back. So just be warned that it is possible. Like, I've done it with notebooks before. If you leave a notebook in the car and you use the heat erasable pen in the car, it gets really hot. And so obviously my notebook erased, you can put the whole notebook in the freezer and it will come back some, not 100%. I think I might have it here because I did it to show somebody. But yeah, like on the whole, it's like a really good pen to use. I try not to get my work wet. I just don't really like it, but you can also use the air erasable pens or the water soluble pens if you are a little bit like, I still don't trust you. I don't trust that it's not going to just mess up all of my work. But I've had too many times where I've gone to wash out the water soluble pen and had a rude awakening. Okay, so here we go. So this right here is where I blow dried it. And then when I put it in the freezer, this is how it came back. So you can see it's like not the same color as the actual pen. Like, this is the color of the actual pen. And it kind of shows up like that. So even if it does show up, and this is the thick one, this is the 10. So remember I said that they have different thicknesses, the tips. So this is the 10 one. So yeah, it does come back a little bit. So you can kind of like keep that in mind, you know? But there's your warning. Don't go snowmobiling or skiing with your embroidery, and you'll be fine. I'm obviously joking, okay? It is a good warning to put out there, though, because some people, you don't want them to do a bunch of work and then be like, oh, you told me that it would work, and it didn't. So, yeah, just be a little bit cautious, you know? They aren't meant to be used for fabric. The Pilot company, Pilot, right? Yeah. I mean, they've said don't use them for fabric. That's not how you're supposed to use them. but I've never had a problem in like 7 years, 6 years. So you're on your own. Do it with caution. But it's my favorite way. So yeah, this is what we've done today. So I did a whipped backstitch for the stem, and then I did 3 straight stitches for each of the leaves. I really like it. It looks really nice. So tomorrow we'll have a catch-up day. I still have to do my fishbone leaves, and I have to do my chain stitch leaf here. And I think that's all that I have. So it might be not a very long time, but we can have a chat if you have any questions, and you can pop in and, you know, ask. That's completely fine. So I hope you have a lovely Saturday. Be sure to tag at the Barmy Fox and use the hashtag the Barmy Fox SAL. If you've got a few minutes today or this evening, go have a scroll through the hashtag, leave some likes and comments. It's so lovely. You can also join the VIP Facebook group and post your progress pictures there if you want to. So there you go. I hope you have a lovely Saturday, like I've said before, and I'll talk with you tomorrow. Bye.